Thanks so much, Nausheen. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Joe DeAngelis again. Nausheen mentioned it before, but since 2016, APA has been working with the U.S. Forest Service to research regional green infrastructure planning at the landscape scale. So over time, an emerging component of this was in addressing the special considerations surrounding the wildland-urban interface. So today I'm going to talk very briefly for about 5 minutes or so on some guidance resources and publications that we've developed related to our work. So in the initial phase of our work, APA, we organized a summit surrounding, opportunities and needs on regional green infrastructure planning. This included things like, a baseline assessment of local and regional needs and the guidance that communities might need. So to this end, APA developed a high-level briefing paper just sort of discussing green infrastructure planning in the context of the WUI. So this paper focused on the challenges posed by development in the WUI and opportunities for increasing resilience through a more integrated approach to green infrastructure. So as a high-level document, the briefing paper, which is freely available at the link that you see on your provided as well, it's a really great introduction and a primer on subsequent and more detailed guidance in this area that we have since completed and that I'm actually going to be discussing now. So concurrent with our work on the PAS report, which I'll get to in just a moment, APA developed an in-depth guidebook to understanding and mitigating natural hazard risk in the WUI. So while the primary focus of this framework guidebook is on wildfire, we've also developed some guidance on related like flash flood, landslide, drought, and the guidebook breaks things down according to a range of local interventions. It looks at how plans can be tailored to address WUI risk. So, potential local development regulations that communities might want to consider, and the types of public investments that can reduce and mitigate hazard risk in the WUI. So the framework, it includes a pretty handy set of pre-made audit documents that can kind of allow local planners and practitioners to assess the strength of their local plans and processes, how their regulations might or might not mitigate wildfire and other risks in the WUI, whether their existing public investments, things like local infrastructure, public buildings, roads, they're considering local natural hazard risk in the planning and prioritization of projects. So this report is also free and available to all. So probably the easiest way to track it down is by searching for the multi-hazards WUI framework, but you could also visit the link that's up there on your screen. So finally, and this has sort of been the centerpiece of the project up to this point, so I'm going to talk briefly about and give an overview of our recent Planning Advisory Service report titled Planning the Wildland-Urban Interface. So this report, it's targeted at planners and other local on-the-ground practitioners, and it's really an in-depth look at wildfire risk in the WUI, the role that planners can and should play in reducing and mitigating its impacts on the built and the natural environment. So the report really looks at the key issues that planners actually have to address and have the capacity to influence. So that is, where and how we build our homes, where we site our infrastructure, how the overall physical form of our communities interact with risk in the WUI. So these are land use decisions that planners can shape to help ensure that communities are safer and more resilient to wildfire. So the report is suitable for practitioners in WUI communities at a pretty wide spectrum of understanding with regard to wildfire. So it lays out essential concepts of the wildland-urban interface, the science of wildfire with a planning audience in mind, the related natural hazards that wildfire can be influenced by and in turn also influence. A little bit later in the report, it discusses the evolution of the WUI, how it changed over time, how the public conception of it has changed, and how it's being, impacted and changed by physical development of land today, and long-term risks and trends like, climate change and emerging weather extremes and that sort of thing. So the core of the report, though, is really in chapters 5 to 7, and this portion focuses on action. So what are the things that planners can do at a wide variety of scales, from long-term visioning through plan development and right into site and design guidelines and regulations. So this section discusses in-depth approaches based around the tools that are at the disposal of planners to address wildfire. How planners can consider wildfire risk in their comp plans, their area plans, functional plans, how building and fire codes may be integrated into zoning regulations. And there's a wide variety of case studies, best practices, and local examples in the report that help to highlight these approaches. So this report is also free and available to all. So if you'd like to take a look, you can search for PAS Report 594. You can visit planning.org/PAS/reports. And I believe that these links will also be provided to you. So in the next portion of the webinar, Molly Mowery, who was a co-author of this report, I believe she's going to go into a bit more detail in terms of content and guidance and that sort of thing. So if you have any questions about APA's work in this area, the resources and reports that I've discussed here, feel free to let me know at my email address, jdeangelis@planning.org. And I think that about wraps it up for me for now. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.